Captain Lisa Warren stood on the bridge of her ship, the TDF Valkyrie, watching the stars through the large front window. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her green eyes focused on the scanner readings in front of her. She had been hunting Jake Morrison for 3 long months, and finally, she had him cornered. "Captain, we have him on our sensors," said her first officer, Pete Hamilton. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. "His ship is damaged. Looks like his engines are failing," Lisa nodded slowly. She had been waiting for this moment. Jake Morrison was the most wanted criminal in known space. He used to be a good soldier, someone she had worked with years ago, but something had changed him. Now he was a killer who worked for anyone who paid him enough money. "How long have we been chasing him, Pete?" Lisa asked. 3 months, 2 weeks, and 4 days, Pete replied. "He has destroyed 12 alien outposts in that time. The Zephyrian Empire wants him dead or alive." Lisa remembered the first time she had seen the reports. Jake had attacked a peaceful trading station near the edge of human space. Hundreds of aliens had died. The Zephyrian Empire, a group of alien worlds that usually kept to themselves, had offered the biggest reward in galactic history for Jake's capture. "Captain, incoming message from the target ship," said Amy Chun, the ship's communication officer. She was young, maybe 25, with short black hair and nervous hands. "Put it through," Lisa ordered. Jake Morrison's face appeared on the main screen. He looked older than Lisa remembered. His brown hair was longer now, and he had a scar across his left cheek. But his blue eyes were the same, cold and calculating. "Well, well, Lisa Warren," Jake said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You finally caught up with me." "It's over, Jake," Lisa said, stepping closer to the screen. "Your ship is falling apart. Your weapons are offline. Surrender now, and I promise you'll make it to trial alive." Jake laughed. It was not a happy sound. "You always were too soft, Lisa. That's why you made a good officer but a terrible enemy." "I'm not your enemy, Jake. I'm just doing my job." "Your job?" Jake's smile faded. "Your job is to hunt down a man who used to save your life on a regular basis? Remember the Battle of Titan? You would have died if I hadn't pulled you out of that burning building." Lisa did remember. It was 7 years ago, during the war with the Centauri rebels. Jake had risked his own life to save hers. They had been friends then, maybe more than friends. "That was a long time ago," Lisa said quietly. "Before you became a murderer." "Murderer?" Jake's eyes grew cold. "I'm a soldier, Lisa. I follow orders. The only difference is that now I choose who gives me those orders. You killed innocent people, Jake. Families. Children." "Innocent?" Jake shook his head. "There are no innocent people in this galaxy, Lisa. Only those who are strong enough to survive and those who are not." Lisa felt anger rising in her chest. "You're wrong. And I'm going to prove it by bringing you to justice." Jake was quiet for a moment, then he smiled again. This time, the smile was different. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret. "You know what, Lisa? You're right. It is over, but not the way you think." The transmission ended. Lisa stared at the blank screen. Feeling confused? Something about Jake's last words bothered her, but she couldn't figure out what. "Captain," said Danny Torres, the ship's medical officer. He was a small man with kind eyes and gentle hands. "The target ship has stopped moving. Life support is failing on their vessel. Any life signs?" Lisa asked. "Just one," Danny replied. "Weak and getting weaker." Lisa made her decision. "Pete, take us in. Prepare a boarding party. Danny, bring your medical equipment. If Jake is dying, I want him alive for trial. Are you sure that's wise, Captain?" Pete asked. "This could be a trap?" Lisa looked at her old friend and first officer. Pete had been with her for 5 years. He was careful and smart, always thinking about the safety of the crew, but Lisa had made up her mind. "Jake Morrison is finished," she said. "His ship is dead in space. We have him outnumbered 10-1. What kind of trap could he possibly have left?" 30 minutes later, Lisa led a team of 6 armed soldiers onto Jake's ship. The vessel was called the Dark Star, and it had seen better days. The hallways were dark and the air smelled of smoke and burned metal. Emergency lights flashed red, casting strange shadows on the walls. "Stay alert," Lisa whispered to her team. "Check every room." They moved through the ship carefully. The first room they checked was the bridge. It was empty, but Lisa could see where Jake had been fighting to keep his ship running. There were scorch marks on the walls and broken equipment everywhere. "Captain," called Ryan Brooks, one of her security officers, "I found something in the medical bay." Lisa and her team rushed to the medical bay. They found Jake Morrison lying on a medical table, his eyes closed. His face was pale, and there was blood on his shirt. Danny quickly ran his scanner over Jake's body. "Massive internal bleeding," Danny reported. "Multiple organ failure. He's dying, Captain." Lisa looked down at Jake's face. Even unconscious, he looked peaceful. Too peaceful for someone who was supposed to be dying. "Can you save him?" she asked Danny. "I can try," Danny said, preparing his medical equipment. "But I need to get him to our medical bay immediately." As Danny worked, Jake's eyes opened slowly. He looked directly at Lisa, and for a moment she saw the man she used to know. The good soldier who had saved her life. "Lisa," he whispered, his voice weak, "you finally got me." "Don't talk, Jake," Lisa said. "Save your strength." Jake smiled, and this time it seemed real. "I always knew you were the better soldier." "Yes, I was right." "You were a good soldier once, too," Lisa replied. "What happened to you?" Jake's smile faded. "I learned the truth about this galaxy, about what humans really are." "What do you mean?" "We're not the good guys, Lisa. We're the monsters. The aliens know it, they fear us, and they should." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. "You're wrong." "Am I?" Jake's eyes began to close again. "You'll see. Soon enough, you'll understand." Jake's head fell to the side, and his breathing became very shallow. Danny's scanner showed that his heart was barely beating. "We need to move him now," Danny said urgently. Lisa nodded to her team. They carefully moved Jake to a medical stretcher and carried him back to the Valkyrie. As they placed him in the medical bay, Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Jake Morrison was supposed to be the most dangerous criminal in the galaxy. He was smart, skilled, and always one step ahead of his enemies. It seemed too easy to catch him like this, but the medical scanners didn't lie. Jake was dying. His injuries were real. Lisa had one dot as the Valkyrie began its journey back to Earth. Lisa stood in the medical bay, watching Jake sleep. He looked so peaceful, so harmless. It was hard to believe this was the same man who had killed so many innocent people. "Get some rest, Captain," Pete said from the doorway. "We have a long journey ahead of us." Lisa nodded, but she didn't leave. Something about Jake's last words kept bothering her. What truth was he talking about? What did he mean when he said humans were monsters? She looked at Jake's face one more time. Even in his sleep, he was smiling slightly. It was the smile of someone who knew something others did and single quotes dot. Lisa finally left the medical bay. But she couldn't shake the feeling that Jake Morrison was still playing a game. And she wasn't sure. She understood the rules. 3 days had passed since Jake Morrison was brought aboard the TDF Valkyrie. Lisa Warren checked on him every few hours, watching him sleep in the medical bay. Danny Torres worked hard to keep Jake alive, but his condition remained critical. "How is he today?" Lisa asked as she entered the medical bay. Danny looked up from his equipment. Dark circles under his eyes showed how little sleep he had been getting. "Better than yesterday, but still very weak. The internal bleeding has stopped, but his organs are still failing." Lisa nodded and walked over to Jake's bed. He looked so different from the dangerous criminal she had been hunting. His face was pale and thin. His breathing was shallow and slow. The medical machines around his bed beeped softly, monitoring his heart rate and other vital signs. "Has he said anything?" Lisa asked. "Nothing important," Danny replied. "He asks for water sometimes. Once he asked what day it was, but mostly he just sleeps." Lisa stared at Jake's peaceful face. Something still bothered her about his capture. It had been too easy. Jake Morrison was known for being clever and always having a backup plan. Yet here he was, dying in her medical bay, Captain, said Amy Chun through the communication system. We have an incoming message from Earth Command. Lisa left the medical bay and walked to the bridge. Pete Hamilton was standing at his station, looking at the message on his screen. What does Earth Command want? Lisa asked. They want a full report on Morrison's capture, Pete replied. And they want to know his current condition. Lisa sat down in her captain's chair and activated the communication system. The face of Admiral George Miller appeared on the main screen. He was an older man with white hair and serious eyes. Captain Warren, Admiral Miller said. Congratulations on capturing Jake Morrison. The whole galaxy is talking about it. Thank you, sir, Lisa replied. But I'm not sure we should celebrate yet. Morrison is in critical condition. He might not survive the trip back to Earth. That would be unfortunate, the Admiral said. We need him alive for questioning. There are things we need to know about. His activities in the outer sectors. Lisa felt curious. What kind of things, sir? Admiral Miller was quiet for a moment. Morrison has been working with some very dangerous people. We believe he has information about planned attacks on human colonies. If he dies, that information dies with him. I understand, sir. We're doing everything we can to keep him alive. Good, and Captain, I want you to question him as soon as he's strong enough to talk. Find out who he's been working with and what they're planning. The communication ended, and Lisa leaned back in her chair. She felt tired. The stress of the long hunt and the responsibility of keeping Jake alive was wearing on her. Captain, Pete said quietly, maybe you should get some? Rest. You've been pushing yourself too hard, Lisa nodded. You're right. Wake me if anything changes with Morrison. She went to her quarters and lay down on her bed, but sleep wouldn't come. Her mind kept thinking about Jake and the strange feeling she had about his capture. She remembered their conversation on his ship, especially his last words about humans. Being monsters, what did he mean by that? Jake had always been direct and honest, even when they were on opposite sides. If he said humans were monsters, did he really believe it? Or was he just trying to confuse her? Lisa finally fell asleep, but her dreams were full of strange images. She saw Jake as he used to be, young and brave, fighting beside her in the war. Then she saw him as he was now, pale and dying. In her dreams, he was always smiling that mysterious smile. She woke up to the sound of alarms. Red lights were flashing in her quarters, and the ship's computer was announcing an emergency. Lisa jumped out of bed and ran to the bridge. What's happening? She asked Pete. It's Morrison, Pete replied, his face worried. Something's wrong in the medical bay. Lisa ran through the corridors to the medical bay. When she arrived, she found Danny standing over Jake's bed, looking confused. The medical machines were beeping frantically. What's wrong? Lisa asked. I don't understand it, Danny said. His vital signs are all wrong. His heart rate is too steady. His brain activity is too normal for someone in his condition. Lisa looked at the monitors. The numbers didn't make sense to her, but Danny seemed worried. Is he getting better or worse? She asked. That's just it, Danny replied. He's not getting better, but he's not getting worse either. It's like his body has found some kind of balance that shouldn't be possible. Jake's eyes opened slowly. He looked around the room until he saw Lisa. Hello, Lisa, he said. His voice was stronger than it had been in days. Jake, Lisa said, moving closer to his bed. How do you feel? Like I've been hit by a starship, Jake replied with a weak smile. But I'm still here. The doctors on Earth will be able to help you more than we can, Lisa said. We'll be there in 4 more days. Jake nodded slowly. Earth, I haven't been there in a long time. Why did you leave? Lisa asked. You had a good career in the military. You were respected. What changed? Jake was quiet for a long moment. His eyes stared at the ceiling, and Lisa could see he was thinking about something painful. I saw what we really are, he said finally. During the war with the Centauri, I was sent on a special mission, deep into their territory. What I found? There changed everything. What did you find? The truth about why they were fighting us. The truth about what Earth Command was really doing in the outer sectors. Lisa felt a chill. What do you mean? Jake turned his head to look at her directly. The The Centauri weren't rebels, Lisa. They were defending their homes. Earth Command was taking their planets, their resources, their children. We weren't the good guys. We were the invaders. That's not true, Lisa said quickly. The Centauri attacked our colonies first. Everyone knows that. Do they? Jake asked. Or is that just what Earth Command wanted everyone to believe? Lisa felt angry. You're lying. You're trying to justify what you've become. Am I? Jake's eyes grew sad. Lisa, I've seen the files. I've talked to the survivors. The Centauri were peaceful people. They just wanted to be left alone. Then why did you become a criminal? Lisa asked. If you really believed that, why didn't you report it to the authorities? Jake laughed, but it was a bitter sound. I tried. Do you know what happened? I was told to keep quiet. When I refused, they tried to have me killed. I had to disappear? Become someone else. Lisa stared at him. Part of her wanted to believe he was lying, but Jake had never been a liar. Even as children, he had always told the truth, even when it got him in trouble. The people you've killed, she said. The outposts you've destroyed, how do you justify that? Those weren't innocent people, Lisa. They were slavers, weapons dealers, drug smugglers. The Zephyrian Empire doesn't tell you that part, do they? They just say I'm a criminal who attacks peaceful traders. You're saying the Zephyrians are lying? I'm saying everyone is lying, Jake replied. The Zephyrians, Earth Command, even the news reports you've been reading. This whole galaxy is built on lies. Lisa felt confused and upset. She had spent her whole life believing in the righteousness of Earth and its mission to bring peace to the galaxy. Now Jake was telling her it was all false. I don't believe you, she said. Jake smiled sadly. I know you don't. But you will. Soon enough you'll see what I've seen. And then you'll understand why I had to do what I did. What do you mean? But Jake's eyes were closing again. His breathing became shallow, and the medical machines started beeping more slowly. He's unconscious again, Danny said. His body is shutting down to conserve energy. Lisa stood there for a long time, watching Jake sleep. His words echoed in her mind. Could it be true? Could everything she believed about Earth and the military be wrong? She thought about the missions she had been on, the battles she had fought. Had she been fighting for justice, or had she been fighting for lies? Lisa left the medical bay feeling more confused than ever. She walked to her quarters and sat at her desk, staring at the reports about Jake Morrison. For the first time, she started to wonder if there was more to the story than she had been told. Outside her window, the stars looked the same as always. But somehow they felt different now, less friendly, more mysterious. Lisa picked up her personal communicator and started to make a call to Earth Command. She wanted to ask some questions about Jake's claims, but then she stopped. What if Jake was right? What if asking questions would put her in danger? She put the communicator down and leaned back in her chair. 4 more days until they reached Earth. 4 more days to figure out what was really true. In the medical bay, Jake Morrison lay sleeping. But if Lisa had looked closely, she might have noticed that his smile had returned. The smile of someone who knew that his words were already working. It was the middle of the night when Jake Morrison made his move. The TDF Valkyrie was running on skeleton crew with only 3 people awake on the bridge. Most of the crew was sleeping in their quarters, trusting that their dangerous prisoner was too weak to cause any trouble. They were wrong. Jake had been awake for hours, lying perfectly still in his medical bed. His breathing was controlled and steady, not the weak gasps of a dying man. The medical machines around him showed the vital signs he wanted them to show. For 3 days he had been slowly working on the restraints that held him to the bed. The restraints were strong, designed to hold even the most dangerous criminals. But Jake had learned many things during his years in the outer sectors. He had studied with alien species that could dislocate their joints at will. He had learned from creatures that could control their own body chemistry. Most importantly, he had learned patience. The biological implant in his chest had been doing its job perfectly. It could simulate injuries, control his heart rate, and even produce fake blood when needed. It was technology stolen from the Zephyrian Empire, designed for their spies and assassins. Jake had paid a fortune for it on the black market. Now, as the ship's night cycle reached its deepest point, Jake began to move. His joints popped quietly as he shifted his shoulders in ways that human bodies normally couldn't manage. The restraints loosened just enough. Ryan Brooks was the first to die. He was making his security rounds, checking on the prisoner as he did every hour. When he entered the medical bay, Jake was ready. The security officer never had a chance to call for help. Jake took Ryan's weapon and his keycard. He moved through the ship like a ghost, using skills he had learned from a dozen different alien species. The Valkyrie's corridors were familiar to him. He had served on ships like this one for years before his fall from grace. Amy Chun was working the night shift on the bridge. She was monitoring communications and scanning for any problems in space. She didn't hear Jake enter the bridge behind her. When she finally turned around, Jake was standing there with Ryan's weapon pointed at her. "Don't make a sound," Jake whispered. "I don't want to hurt you, but I will if I have to." Amy's eyes went wide with fear. She had been on the team that captured Jake. She had seen him weak and dying. Now he stood before her, looking strong and healthy. "How?" she whispered. "Magic," Jake replied with a cold smile. "Now I need you to disable the ship's internal alarm system. Can you do that?" Amy nodded slowly. Her hands shook as she worked at her control panel. Within minutes, the ship's security system was offline. "Good," Jake said. "Now, where is Captain Warren's quarters?" "Deck 7, Section 3, Amy replied. "Please don't hurt her. She's a good person." Jake's expression softened slightly. "I know she is. That's what makes this so difficult." He used Amy's own restraints to tie her to her chair, then made his way to Deck 7. The corridors were quiet and empty. Most of the crew was sleeping peacefully, unaware that their most dangerous prisoner was now free. Jake found Lisa's quarters easily. The door was locked, but Ryan's security card opened it without trouble. He entered quietly, moving like a shadow across the room. Lisa was sleeping in her bed, her dark hair spread across the pillow. She looked peaceful, younger than her 32 years. For a moment, Jake hesitated. He remembered the woman she used to be, the friend she had been. Then he remembered why he was here. "Wake up, Lisa," he said softly. Lisa's eyes opened immediately. Years of military training had taught her to wake up alert and ready. When she saw Jake standing beside her bed, she reached for the weapon on her nightstand. "I wouldn't do that," Jake said, showing her Ryan's weapon. "I really don't want to hurt you." Lisa sat up slowly, her mind racing. "How did you get out? You were dying, was I?" Jake asked. "Or did you just see what I wanted you to see?" Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. "The medical scanners." "Danny confirmed your injuries. Medical scanners can be fooled," Jake replied. "Especially when you have the right technology." He tapped his chest, and Lisa could see a small device blinking under his skin. "Zephyrian spy technology," Lisa said, understanding. "You've been faking your injuries." "Very good," Jake said. "I knew you'd figure it out eventually. You always were smart." Lisa's mind was working quickly. This was all planned. "You let me capture you." "Of course I did," Jake replied. "Do you really think Lisa Warren could outfight Jake Morrison in a fair fight?" "We both know you're good, but I'm better." Lisa felt anger rising in her chest. "Why? What do you want?" "I want something you have," Jake said. "Something very valuable. I don't have anything you could want." Jake smiled, and Lisa saw the cold calculation in his eyes. "You have the quantum encryption codes for Earth's planetary defense grid. They're stored in your command neural implant." Lisa's blood went cold. The neural implant was standard equipment for all ship captains. It contained encrypted information about ship operations, security codes, and defense protocols. The planetary defense codes were the most classified information in the human military. "I can't give you those codes," Lisa said. "Even if I wanted. I can't access them consciously." "I know," Jake replied. "That's why I brought this." He pulled out a small device that looked like a metal helmet with wires attached. "Zephyrian Neural Extraction Device. It can pull information directly from your implant." Lisa had heard of such devices. They were used by alien species for interrogation and torture. The process was supposed to be extremely painful and often left the victim brain damaged or dead. "You're going to torture me," Lisa said. "I'm going to do what I have to do," Jake replied. "Just like you did what you had to do when you hunted me across the galaxy. Why do you need those codes?" "What are you planning?" Jake was quiet for a moment. Planning to end this war before it really begins." "What war?" "The war between Earth and the Arcturus Federation." "It's coming, Lisa, sooner than you think." "And when it happens, Earth is going to lose badly." Lisa felt confused. "The Arcturus Federation has been neutral for decades." "Why would they attack Earth?" "Because Earth has been pushing them too far," Jake replied. "Taking their trade routes, building military bases in their territory, stealing their resources. Just like we did to the Centauri." "You're working for the Arcturus Federation," Lisa said, understanding. "I'm working for survival," Jake corrected. "The Federation is going to attack Earth's colonies whether I help them or not. But if I give them the defense codes, they can take out Earth's military quickly and cleanly. Fewer people will die." Lisa stared at him. "You're talking about the destruction of human civilization." "I'm talking about preventing a genocide," Jake replied. "The Federation has weapons you can't imagine. If this war drags on, they'll use them. Every human world will be burned to ash." "You don't know that." "I've seen their ships, Lisa. I've talked to their commanders. They're not like the Centauri. They're not peaceful farmers defending their homes. They're warriors who have been preparing for this war for 50 years. Lisa felt sick. "Even if that's true, betraying Earth isn't the answer, isn't it?" Jake asked. "What has Earth ever done for humanity except start wars and make enemies? We could have been explorers, scientists, teachers. Instead, we became conquerors. We brought peace to the galaxy." "We brought fear," Jake corrected. "And now that fear is coming back to destroy us." He held up the neural extraction device. "This is going to hurt, Lisa. I'm sorry for that. But it's the only way to save what's left of humanity." Lisa looked at the device, then at Jake's face. She could see that he believed what he was saying. In his mind, he was saving humanity by destroying it. "There has to be another way," she said. "There is no other way," Jake replied. "I've spent 5 years looking for one. This is all that's left." He moved toward her with the device, and Lisa knew she was running out of time. She had to find a way to stop him, to warn Earth, to save the defense codes from falling into enemy hands. But as Jake reached for her, Lisa realized something that made her blood run cold. Jake Morrison wasn't just a criminal or a traitor. He was a man who had given up hope. And hopeless men were the most dangerous enemies of all. The neural extraction device powered up with a soft humming sound. Jake's face was sad but determined, as he prepared to destroy his oldest friend's mind to save a species that might not deserve saving. "I'm sorry, Lisa," he said again, "but this is how it has to be." Lisa closed her eyes and prepared for the worst pain she had ever felt. She thought about her crew, her ship, and the codes that could doom or save humanity. She thought about the war that was coming and the choices that had led them all to this moment. Most of all, she thought about the man Jake Morrison used to be, and wondered if that man was still somewhere inside the person who was about to torture her. The device touched her forehead, and Lisa's world exploded into agony. The pain was like nothing Lisa had ever felt before. The neural extraction device sent electric shocks through her brain, searching for the quantum encryption codes hidden in her command implant. She bit down hard to keep from screaming, but tears ran down her face. Jake watched her suffer, his jaw tight with tension. "I'm sorry," he said again. "Just let it happen. Fighting it will only make it worse." Lisa forced herself to think through the agony. The device was looking for specific information in her neural implant, but there were ways to resist. During her military training, she had learned techniques to protect classified information even under torture. She began to recite old poetry in her mind, flooding her thoughts with meaningless words. She remembered her childhood on Earth, her First day at the military academy, her mother's face. Anything to keep the device from finding what it was looking for. The pain grew stronger. Lisa could feel the device digging deeper into her memories, searching through years of experiences. But she held on, focusing on everything except military codes and defense protocols. "You're fighting it," Jake said. "Stop, Lisa. You're only hurting yourself." "Go to hell," Lisa whispered through clenched teeth. Jake checked the device's readings. The extraction was taking too long. Normally, the process should have been finished in minutes. Lisa's resistance was slowing everything down. "Fine," Jake said. "We'll do this the hard way." He increased the device's power. Lisa's body convulsed as stronger electrical pulses hit her brain. This time, she couldn't hold back a scream. The sound echoed through the ship's corridors. In the crew quarters, people began to wake up. Pete Hamilton was the first to realize something was wrong. He had been sleeping lightly, worried about their... When he heard Lisa scream, he jumped out of bed and grabbed his weapon. "Emergency alert," Pete announced over the ship's communication system. "All crew to battle stations. The prisoner has escaped." Throughout the ship, crew members woke up and reached for their weapons. Danny Torres ran from his quarters toward the medical bay, expecting to find Jake Morrison trying to escape. Instead, he found Ryan Brooks unconscious on the floor. "Pete," Danny called over his communicator. "Ryan is down in the medical bay. Morrison is gone. Find him," Pete ordered. "Check every room." But Pete already had a terrible feeling about where Jake would be. He ran through the corridors toward Lisa's quarters, his heart pounding with fear. In Lisa's room, the neural extraction was finally working. Jake could see data flowing from Lisa's implant to his device. But it wasn't the defense codes he needed. Instead, he was getting memories of Lisa's childhood, her training, her first missions as a young officer. "Come on," Jake muttered. "Where are the codes?" Lisa felt the device reaching deeper into her mind. She was losing the fight. The pain was too much, and her mental defenses were breaking down. Soon, the device would find what Jake was looking for. But then she remembered something. During her conversation with Admiral Miller, he had mentioned that Earth Command was worried about attacks on human colonies. What if Jake was right about the coming war? What if giving him the codes really would save lives? The thought confused her. Was Jake a traitor, or was he trying to prevent a disaster? Lisa didn't know anymore. Everything she had believed about Earth, about the military, about right and wrong, was falling apart. The door to her quarters exploded inward. Pete Hamilton charged into the room with 3 security officers behind him. They saw Jake standing over Lisa with the neural extraction device attached to her head. "Get away from her!" Pete shouted, pointing his weapon at Jake. Jake looked up calmly. "Hello, Pete. You're just in time to watch your captain betray her own species." "The only traitor here is you," Pete replied. "Now step away from Captain Warren." Jake smiled. "I don't think so. You see, I'm very close to getting what I came for, and you're not going to stop me." "There are 4 of us and 1 of you," Pete said. "The math isn't hard, isn't it?" Jake asked. He pulled out a small device from his pocket. "This is a dead man's switch. If I let go of it, this ship will explode. Everyone on board will die." Pete felt his heart sink. "You're bluffing, am I?" Jake asked. "I had 3 days to move around this ship while you thought I was dying. Do you really want to find out if I'm lying?" Pete looked at his security officers. They were waiting for his orders, but he didn't know what to do. If Jake was telling the truth, shooting him would kill everyone on the ship. But if they did nothing, Jake would get the defense codes. "What do you want?" Pete asked. "I want 5 more minutes," Jake replied. 5 minutes to finish the extraction, and then I'll leave peacefully." "And if we give you those 5 minutes? Then Earth's colonies might survive the war that's coming." Pete stared at Jake. "What war?" "The one that starts in 6 months," Jake replied. "When the Arcturus Federation attacks every human world simultaneously? The one that Earth Command knows is coming but won't tell anyone about?" Lisa made a weak sound through her pain. She was trying to say something, but the neural device made it hard to speak. "What is she saying?" Pete asked. Jake leaned closer to Lisa. What's that? Protocol 7, Lisa whispered. Jake's face went pale. What? Protocol 7, Lisa repeated, louder this time. Jake understood immediately. Protocol 7 was Earth's emergency defense protocol. If activated, it would change all the quantum encryption codes in the entire human defense network. The codes he was stealing would become useless within hours. You clever woman, Jake said with genuine admiration. You knew I would get the codes. Eventually, so you're making sure they won't work? Lisa managed a weak smile through her pain. Always have a backup plan. You taught me that, Jake looked at his device. The extraction was almost complete, but now it didn't matter. Even if he got the codes, Lisa had already made them worthless. Pete, Jake called out. I need you to send a message to Earth Command. Tell them to cancel Protocol 7. Why would I do that? Pete asked. Because if you don't, millions of people are going to die. Pete felt confused. I don't understand. Jake turned off the neural extraction device. Lisa collapsed back onto her bed, breathing heavily. The immediate danger to her was over, but Jake still held the dead man's switch. The Arcturus Federation is going to attack whether they have the codes or not, Jake explained. But without the codes, they'll have to use their most powerful weapons. They'll turn every human world into a wasteland. You're lying, Pete said. I? Jake asked. Pete, how long have you known me? 7 years, Pete replied. In all that time, have I ever lied to you? Pete thought about it. Even when Jake had turned criminal, even when he had become their enemy, he had always been honest about his motivations and his actions. No, Pete admitted. Then believe me now, Jake said. If the Federation gets those codes, they can take out Earth's defenses quickly and cleanly. The war will be over in days instead of years. Fewer people will die, Lisa struggled to sit up. Even if that's true, we can't trust you. How do we know you won't use those codes to attack Earth yourself? Because I don't want to destroy humanity. Jake replied, I want to save it. There's a difference. Pete looked back and forth between Jake and Lisa. Both of them were people he trusted, but they were asking him to make an impossible choice. Trust the traitor who might be trying to save humanity, or trust the captain who might be dooming it? I need proof, Pete said finally. Proof that this war is really coming, Jake nodded. Fair enough. He pulled out a small data pad and tossed it to Pete. Everything is on there. Federation fleet movements, attack plans, weapon specifications. It's all real. Pete caught the data pad but didn't look at it yet. How did you get this information? By doing things I'm not proud of, Jake replied. By becoming someone I never wanted to be, but it was the only way to learn the truth. Lisa looked at Jake with new understanding. You've been working as a double agent, pretending to work for the Federation while actually trying to protect Earth. Something like that, Jake said. Though the lines got blurred somewhere along the way, the room was quiet for a moment. Everyone was trying to process what they had learned. Then Pete made his decision. I'm going to look at this data, he said. If it proves what you're saying, I'll consider your proposal. But I'm not canceling Protocol 7 until I'm sure. Jake nodded. That's all I ask. But as Pete began to examine the data pad, Jake was already thinking about his next move. The codes were lost, but there was still another way to achieve his goal. A way that didn't require Lisa's cooperation. He just had to be willing to sacrifice everything he had left, including his own life. Pete Hamilton stared at the data pad in his hands. The information on it was terrifying. Fleet positions, attack schedules, weapon specifications. Everything showed that Jake Morrison was telling the truth. The Arcturus Federation was planning to attack every human colony in 6 months. This can't be real, Pete whispered. It is, Jake said quietly. Every piece of data on that pad cost me something. Friends, allies, pieces of my soul, but it's all true. Lisa struggled to her feet, still weak from the neural extraction. Show me, she said. Pete handed her the data pad. Lisa's eyes moved quickly across the screen, reading the military reports and battle plans. Her face grew pale as she understood what she was seeing. 200 ships, she said. They're planning to hit 12 human worlds at the same time. Earth's fleet can't be in 12 places at once, Jake said. By the time we can respond, half our colonies will be gone. Why didn't Earth Command warn anyone? Pete asked. Because they're planning to abandon the outer colonies, Jake replied. They're going to pull all their ships back to defend Earth and the inner worlds. 40 million people will be left to die. Lisa felt sick. That's not possible. Earth would never abandon its own citizens, wouldn't it? Jake asked. Just like they never abandoned the Centauri refugees? Just like they never covered up war crimes in the outer sectors? Lisa remembered Jake's words from 3 days ago. Everything he had told her about Earth Command was starting to make sense. The lies, the cover-ups, the willingness to sacrifice innocent people for political gain. Even if this is all true, she said, giving the Federation our defense codes won't solve anything. It will just make the invasion easier. You're wrong, Jake replied. With the codes, they can take out our defenses without destroying the colonies. Themselves, the people will live. They'll be conquered, but they'll be alive. Under alien rule, Pete said. Under better rule than they have now? Jake shot back. The Federation doesn't enslave people. They don't steal resources. They don't start wars for profit. Lisa looked at Jake with new understanding. You really believe this is the right thing to do? I know it is, Jake said. I've spent 5 years learning about the Federation. They're not monsters. They're just tired of human expansion and human aggression. So you decided to help them? Pete said, I decided to try to save as many lives as possible, Jake corrected, including human lives. Lisa made her decision. She walked over to the communication panel in her quarters and activated it. This is Captain Warren to Earth Command, she said. Priority Alpha message. Lisa, what are you doing? Jake asked. My job, she replied. Admiral Miller's face appeared on the screen. Captain Warren, have you secured the prisoner? Yes, sir, Lisa replied. But we have a problem. Morrison has provided intelligence about a planned attack by the Arcturus Federation. Admiral Miller's expression didn't change. What kind of intelligence? Complete battle plans for an invasion of human space in 6 months, Lisa said. Sir, they're planning to attack 12 colonies simultaneously. I see, Admiral Miller said calmly. And what does Morrison want in exchange for this information? Lisa felt her heart sink. The Admiral wasn't surprised by the news. He already knew about the invasion. You knew, she said quietly. You've known all along. Captain Warren, you need to understand that some decisions are above your security level, Admiral Miller said. The outer colonies are not strategically important. We cannot risk the core worlds to defend them. 40 million people, Lisa said. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, Admiral Miller replied. That's a hard lesson, but it's one every officer must learn. Jake stepped into view of the communication screen. Hello, George, he said to Admiral Miller. Admiral? Miller's face showed surprise for the first time. Jake Morrison, I should have known you were behind this. Behind what? Jake asked. Trying to save human lives that you're willing to throw away? You're a traitor and a terrorist, Admiral Miller said. Whatever lies you've told Captain Warren, she's too smart to believe them. The only lies here are the ones Earth Command has been telling for decades, Jake replied. About the Centauri War, about the expansion program, about what Earth really stands for. Lisa looked back and forth between Jake and Admiral Miller. 2 men she had trusted, both claiming to represent the best interests of humanity. But they had completely different ideas about what that meant. Sir, she said to Admiral Miller, what are our orders regarding the Federation intelligence? Your orders are to bring Morrison back to Earth for execution, Admiral Miller replied. The intelligence he's provided is worthless propaganda. It's not propaganda, Jake said, and we both know it. Admiral Miller's face grew angry. You have 5 minutes to secure the prisoner, Captain Warren. If you fail, we'll assume your ship has been compromised. The communication ended. Lisa stared at the blank screen, understanding the threat. If she didn't follow orders, Earth Command would assume Jake had taken control of her ship. They would send other ships to destroy the Valkyrie, Now you see, Jake said quietly. This is what Earth has become. An empire that destroys anyone who threatens its power, even its own people. Pete looked at his datapad again. These attack plans. They're detailed enough to mount a defense. If anyone was willing to try, Jake said. But Earth Command has already decided which colonies are worth saving. Lisa felt torn between her duty and her conscience. Everything she had believed about Earth and the military was falling apart. But she was still a captain in the Terran Defense Force. She had sworn an oath to protect human space. There has to be another way, she said. There is, Jake replied, but you're not going to like it. What? Jake held up the dead man's switch again. I lied about the ship being rigged to explode. But I did plant something else while you thought I was dying. What? Pete asked. A quantum transmitter, Jake said. It's been sending everything we've said back to my Federation contacts. They know about Protocol 7. They know the defense codes have been changed. Lisa felt betrayed. You've been playing US this whole time. I've been trying to save you, Jake corrected. The Federation was going to kill everyone on this ship once they got the codes. I convinced them to let you live if you cooperated. And if we don't cooperate? Pete asked. Jake was quiet for a moment. Then they'll destroy this ship and proceed with their original plan. Total annihilation of the human colonies. Lisa understood. Now, Jake had put them all in an impossible position. Cooperate with the enemy or die trying to stop them. You're giving us no choice, she said. Life is about choosing between bad options, Jake replied. I'm just trying to help you choose the option where more people survive. Lisa looked at Pete, then at Jake. She thought about the 40 million people in the outer colonies who were going to die if Earth Command had its way. She thought about her duty as an officer and her responsibility as a human being. Finally, she made her decision. Pete, she said, send a message to the outer colonies. Warn them about the Federation attack. Give them the intelligence Jake provided. Lisa, Pete said, that's treason. Maybe, Lisa replied. But it's also the right thing to do. Jake smiled, and for the first time in years, it was a genuine smile. Thank you, he said. Don't thank me yet, Lisa replied, because I'm not done. She picked up her weapon and pointed it at Jake. I'm also placing you under arrest for treason, terrorism, and the murder of innocent civilians. Jake's smile didn't fade. Fair enough. But at least now those civilians will have a chance to defend themselves? The Federation won't be happy, Pete said. What happens when they find out we warned the colonies? They'll probably kill us, Jake said calmly, but the colonies will be ready for them. And sometimes that's all you can do. Give people a fighting chance, Lisa nodded. She had made her choice. She would face the consequences, whatever they were, outside the ship's windows. The stars looked the same as always, but everything else had changed. The war between Earth and the Arcturus Federation was coming whether anyone wanted it or not. The difference was that now, thanks to Jake Morrison's twisted sense of honor and Lisa Warren's courage to do what was right, humanity would at least have a chance to fight back. Jake Morrison had finally been defeated. But in losing, he had achieved something greater than victory. He had forced the people he cared about to see the truth, even when that truth was painful. The Huntress had caught her prey, but the real hunt was just beginning.